so glad to have you back again with us for this Thursday presentation as we continue in the Gospel of John. It's so important for me to be able to read our text in this linear fashion, and it helps me to get a lay of the Gospel, and the repetition of John's themes just makes my reading experience so much richer. The portion of John for today is again from the 6th chapter. I'm going to be reading the 16th through the 21st verses. When evening came, his disciples went down to the lake, got into a boat, and started across the lake to Capernaum. It was now dark, and Jesus had not yet come to them. The lake became rough because a strong wind was blowing. When they had rowed about 3 or 4 miles, they saw Jesus walking on the lake and coming near the boat, and they were terrified. But Jesus said to them, "It is I, do not be afraid." Then they wanted to take him into the boat, and immediately the boat reached the land toward which they were going. The word of the Lord. It seems that as it grew dark, the disciples, knowing that Capernaum, Jesus' home, was only a little while away, they went down to the sea and they looked for the last ferry of the night there. But night fell hard and dark in this part of the world. And once it did, it was difficult even to see your hand in front of your face, much less that other shore. Didn't the whitecaps on the lake alert them to the coming storm? Halfway to Capernaum, their boat started rocking. One of them and then the others thought they could make out the person of Jesus walking to them on the sea. Though the storm and the darkness did not seem to make them afraid, the sight of Jesus coming towards them did. Terrified, John tells us. So here is how I imagine the rest of this conversation. Sensing their fear, Jesus says, "I am. Do not be afraid." The disciples say, "How about telling the sea to lie still?" And Jesus says, "I am. Do not be afraid." The disciples continue, "We didn't know where you were." And Jesus repeats, "I am." And one of them says, "We thought maybe you'd gone home and you'd left us." And Jesus says, "I am." And 2 or 3 of them gather around him and say, "Jesus, we're sorry we doubted that you could feed all those people." And Jesus said, "I am. Do not be afraid." Peter says, "Let us help you into our frightened little boat." And to this Jesus says, "I am. Do not fear. You are already home." I wonder how often our fear is not about the circumstances in which we find ourselves, but rather about the doubt that still exists in our heart. Let's take our reading from John chapter 6 into our time of silence. Do you know you're already home? Do you know that the love of God is already yours? There's nothing more to do. There's nothing more to say. That He loves you just as you are, with all your strengths and your feebleness, with your beauty, and with those things in you that will never really be perfect. That's the setting of this story and the setting for our intention today. I want you to listen for Jesus to speak into any and all of the fears that are in your life. Because I'm sure that He will tell you, I am. Don't be afraid. So take this courage into your day. Make it real in whatever way your life needs it to be real. And go in peace.